Well, Dragon Age The Veilguard has managed to change my mind a bit, and my latest upload talked about that. So be sure to check that video out. It says changing my mind on it. And this is the live stream that followed that. I want to discuss this with the audience because this is a game that has become immediately polarizing. They released a cinematic trailer, everybody criticized it. Then they released gameplay. And even I have been critical of how they sort of showcase their gameplay. And that's what this discussion's about. Like, I want to see more gameplay. I want to see mid-game, late-game, end-game. I want to hear from the live audience as well, sort of their thoughts on what they've seen so far, because it seems that the Dragon Age community is a little bit split, and they've even sort of been split historically about which Dragon Age game that they think is the best. And so every weekday here on the channel, I upload a video. It's got all of my thoughts, quotes, interviews. There's a lot in that video that is sort of changing my mind, making me say, okay, this actually looks pretty good. There will be another show today as well about Avowed with Kirk from What's New Video Games. We're going to be asking the question, should they delay that game given everything that we've seen up to now and information and things? We're seeing the game in a similar light, but we're not necessarily agreeing on everything. So you'll definitely want to tune into that. So make sure you always check out those morning monologues when they go live, and that way you can know what I think. And now it's time to hear what you think. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Happy Monday to you guys. Make sure you are smashing that like button. A little bit of a lighter turnout on that upload. We had some people saying they weren't getting notifications. So if you're not getting notifications on YouTube, there's always like seasons of time where that happens. One of the best things you can do is turn the notifications off and then turn them back on again. But you can also hang out on our Discord or follow me on Twitter because YouTube notifications are not super reliable. And see Lou with 14 months kicking things off with a Member Plus renewal. And Behemoth! Han shot first, and so did you, starting off Monday strong with a 10 bomb on the member count. And we missed the goal last week. We even lowered it a little bit for you guys. You missed it, and we ended up streaming anyway. We streamed Chained together. Hilly and I had a blast, but you didn't get us to play Elden Ring. And another one, another 10 bomb, a 10 bomb train all of a sudden. We'll see if anybody else jumps on this train with Mash and Behemoth already tag teaming the member count. If you guys get 500 members this week, you'll make Creature show up on Friday night, and he has to play a cute game. We will be picking that game today in Writer's Room, so that is a great reason to be a member. The more you watch, the more you engage, the more you're likely to get a gifted member. And also, we have another incentive. If we can get the amount of people paying for their own memberships to jump to 700, it's currently around 620. If we get that to jump to 700, we'll start doing watch parties every milestone with Madam. We'll watch a show or a movie with you guys. We used to do those in the past. We had to do away with them because Saturday night streams were really tough, but that's another incentive we have. But this week, all you got to do is hit 500 members, which you guys have crushed in the past, and you can make Creature show up this Friday. And make sure you check out those past broadcasts as a member. Chained Together with Hilly was hilarious. So make sure you guys check that out. And do me a favor, take a quick second and smash like. We've been live for maybe 3 minutes, and the faster that happens, the better we can kind of turn this thing around here. We're having a bit of a weird behavior from YouTube lately with, folks saying, hey, I don't even realize you're streaming, you're uploading, so you guys can help us out with that. We might even kind of fix some of that if the audience is responding positively. Sometimes that tells YouTube, like, hey, this video is really hot, put it in front of people. And again, if you're not getting those notifications, we have a Twitter account, we have a Discord, and you can turn them off and on. If I had to use an analogy, it would be Dragon Age Origins is chess, DAV is tennis, DAV will never Veilguard will never cater to the DAO fans. It does seem like there is sort of a split in the community, and that's one of the dividing lines, Draxer, is like if you're a big Dragon Age Origins fan, you're just not into this at all. Or maybe I have it backwards. I think it's the people that like Inquisition that think that this looks fine, but it's the people that are like really big Origins, right? Fans that are not. I can't remember which it is. I saw somebody kind of break it down the other day, and they said, yeah, the people that are falling into these camps, they're generally disagreeing about this game. You like the new art style, El Nini. Yo, good morning, Drummond. How are you? Can I get another 10 bomb shout out? That requires another 10 bomb, my friend. The best part was you needing to keep quiet for your house guests. Yeah, we couldn't get very loud on Friday night. And Behemoth says, welcome, friends. Yeah, if you guys got a gifted membership from Behemoth, be sure to say thank you. The Dragon Age Origin fans haven't been happy since Dragon Age 2, says Therapy Quantified. And to Babo Kumi says, honestly, with these style of games, it would serve them well to aim for a Peter Jackson style and vibe, and you can't go wrong. I wonder what is the current fascination with art styles that look like this. They don't bother me, but I am curious about that. Like, why wouldn't you go for a more Lord of the Rings movie feel, or even like a Skyrim feel? It's like we've gone all in this other direction, whether it's Wayfinder or, I mean, I think even Avowed kind of looks a little bit like this. Avowed actually looks a little bit better, I think. It doesn't quite look as cartoony, but it's almost like everybody's sprinkled a little bit of Fortnite on their game. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just we're seeing that influence and impact kind of show up in many, many games. I'm positive you're the only one directly controlling the main character, not the other characters like in the other Dragon Age games. No, you're issuing them orders. In the past games, you could directly control them. Oh, I misunderstood your question then, Dave. That's my fault. Welcome back, Paul, as a member. Thank you so much. I misunderstood your question. I thought you were like, oh, can you control them? And I'm like, yeah, you can control them. But you're saying you literally want to control the characters, right? Okay. I mean, I get where you're coming from. I do. I don't have that preference. Probably because I didn't play the previous games. And even when I played Dragon Age Inquisition, I believe in that game you could switch between. And I think I would just kind of tell them what to do and just keep on the same person I was with the whole time. And I prefer that. This is why when I read the Game Informer interview and they were like, hey, you're going to be able to do this, this, and this and have everything kind of coinciding and landing at the same time. You're going to be able to have that synergy. I got really, really excited when I saw that. I'm pretty positive you're only directly controlling one main character. Oh, you also tried to say it in the Discord. Sorry about that, Dave. Wasn't trying to ignore that. I see parallels with Final Fantasy 16 trying to tap into the action gameplay fan base. Right, like Final Fantasy 16 did the sort of linear set piece design, what they call it, open area versus, open world. And I think that's fine, but Final Fantasy still felt like the art style was very much Final Fantasy. Mash says, I prefer the art style personally. I think they age better. It works better on weaker consoles like the Series S. It's easier development. It takes less time. Yeah, Eugene said something similar. It might be cheaper, probably cheaper to make. Yeah, because we're seeing a ton of people leverage this art style, and maybe it does give you a little bit more freedom with it doesn't need to look realistic. They don't need to look and move like real people. It can be more cartoonish, more stylized. I played Origins, and I do love it. Says Lone Wolf, I'm glad for them continuing to move towards more action-based. I think my frustration with the action that they showed so far is it feels like a half measure. It's like, yes, I'm moving around. Yes, I am swinging the sword and dodging. But when it is so rudimentary, it's hard to be like, well, that was worth you guys doing that. Does that, you see what I'm saying? This is why I want to see somebody play better. I think we need better gameplay, and we need mid-game and end-game gameplay, because it's like, it doesn't look like it was worth switching to an action style, or emphasizing the action style, I should say, more. It doesn't seem worth it when it's going to be so, I want to say chintzy. It doesn't seem all that impactful. I'm going to have very similar observations about Avowed later today with Kirk, but I'll just keep it to this game for now, and with Dragon Age The Veilguard. Even watching my own video this morning and some of the B-roll that Creature went and grabbed, it's like there's this weird, I don't know what to call it. It's like you're dancing and the enemy's just sort of standing there. Do you get what I'm saying? Now, this is one of the reasons I've struggled with certain JRPGs. I just struggle to get into them. They're super popular, and I think people love them, and for good reason. But I myself struggle to get into them because I'm like, I look like my player is doing like this crazy dancing, twist and turn spin, and the enemy's just sort of standing there going like this, and then numbers are coming off. I don't feel like that lands the same as an action-focused game like Forbidden West or Tsushima, where everything I do, I'm seeing direct result from right then. Whether it's a parry or a swing or a thrust of the sword, it's like I'm seeing the evidence right there. It's not this sort of, I believe Skillup described it in Biomutant, and I've always loved this. I believe he described it as punching a pillow. It doesn't feel like you're impacting the enemy enough. Zubair says, when did the previous games come out? I mean, it's been a while since Dragon Age Inquisition, right? Hasn't it been like 10 years, I believe? I think it was 14. Yeah, 2014. So, a decade, right? Thank you for the gifted membership, says Citizen. Hey, guys, if you're enjoying the show and you got a gifted membership, be sure to say thank you. Take a quick second and smash that like button as well. It helps out the video. Let's see some of the comments on the video. This is a really good reason for you to pile into those uploads in the morning and leave a comment. That helps me out. That helps you out. You may end up featured in the live stream. So right here we've got a comment from Zinthos. Looking forward to more Veilguard coverage from here as the game gets closer. I appreciate that. We're obviously wanting to drill down and do more coverage of specific games. That can be a little difficult, you know, when you're a smaller creator. It's like a lot of the smaller creators dig on one game, not a lot of games. So if you guys like that variety, make sure and continue to show that support for those videos. Will Bleed 550 says, I personally don't care about the graphics or the combat system, only use my MC, my main character, and rarely switch with my companions. I'm here for the story and funny banter with my crew. I hear that. I think there is going to be an element of that in this game, that there are going to be people that say, listen, I don't really care about the art style and the combat. You know, I mainly just want a good story. And from the sounds of it, they're saying lengthwise, this will land in the, I think, what do they say, Outer World scope. This isn't going to be like some big long-tail RPG that's going to take you a very long time, which I think that is disappointing some folks. I do think there are some folks that are hearing that and thinking, well, that's not quite long enough, or that's not quite big enough. So we'll see. Because from where I sit personally, games like this, I'm okay with the shorter. I really am. I don't, once I get beyond the 30th hour, I just start to say, okay, you know, obviously a game like Helldivers is a little bit different. I put about 80 hours into that game. I've been taking a break from it just because there were so many other games coming out. But once I get to about that 30th hour, I'm ready for things to start wrapping up. I'm like, okay, it's time to start landing the plane. Now, a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this. They're going to say, no, man, if it's an RPG, I need to be rolling credits. You know, if I've mainly mainlined the game, I shouldn't be rolling credits until like the 40th or 50th hour. They expect a significantly longer game, and I just don't know. I wonder if our gamer palettes changing, our gamer preferences changing, that they want it to be, you know, over, you know, in a quicker succession. Am I confusing this game with Avowed? What do they say about the length of this? I might be confusing. Hang on. Dragon Age The Veilguard game length. I feel like both the Avowed feedback and Dragon Age feedback has been that they won't be super long. I feel like they discussed this in an interview, and I might be confusing it now with the Avowed interview, because I feel like they were saying similar things. They were saying, you know, that the scope of these games won't be like a Skyrim. Right? Let me see if I can find, I swear there was an article that said something to that effect of like, don't expect it to be like a Skyrim. No, this one's saying it may push it further than Skyrim and Starfield combined. I can't find it. You're confusing Avowed with this? I swore I saw another article, though, that did speak to this game not being as large as other RPGs. Maybe I am confusing it with Avowed. I'm getting my wires crossed, covering two games in one day that are both RPGs. Avowed's going to be around 13. Maybe this will be really long. Have they spoken to game length? Dragon Age The Veilguard game length. I can't find anything in any of the interviews. Maybe they didn't say anything about it yet. I swore I saw one about that. Not it was like something like not to expect Skyrim or something. Won't be open world. Maybe that's what I'm getting confused about. How they said no, it's not going to be open world. Maybe I'm mixing my articles up in my brain. I look at an awful lot of articles when I'm compiling everything for these shows. Okay, they have not spoken to game length. Okay, well then that may end up landing better with the Dragon Age audience then, because I would imagine they would want a fairly lengthy game. I mean, I don't think the old games are quick affairs. Like, just let's look up Dragon Age Inquisition time to beat. There's these really great websites that like kind of collaborate and get everybody. Main story for Inquisition is like 50 hours, it says. For Dragon Age Inquisition, 50 hours. And then if you do extras, almost 90 hours. Completionist runs like 136 hours. So this is probably going to land in a longer plays. This is probably going to land in I would imagine. I mean, unless they're completely departing from that as well. I've watched all the interviews. They have not mentioned length yet from what I've seen. Thank you, Detective Seeds. Yeah, I'm getting myself confused then. I swore I saw one that said it'll be more like this and less like this, and maybe I'm mixing that with the Avowed interviews as well. If the game's engaging the player at that length, mostly irrelevant, and engaging a fun 100-hour RPG can go by faster than a boring, uninteresting 10 to 20-hour game. Oh, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. If you really, get sucked into a game, it's really hard to even you lose track of time. Okay, so here's the interview. Maybe I was confusing. This is a mission-based game, not open world. Everything is hand-touched, handcrafted, very highly curated, says Corrine Bush. Okay, so maybe that's what I saw. The map won't be like a Skyrim open world. It's going to be more of a mission-based game. Okay. I wonder if that will affect length, though. A lot of the time, some of those, those RPGs, they take so much time because it's not quick to go from thing to thing to thing, right? You're typically going from this location to that location, and that starts to add up. You have 5 or 6 chapters in a game with all these different missions and quests and side quests. Just traveling around is going to eat up a lot of time. So it being mission based, maybe that does lower completion time. I don't know. I don't want to jump to conclusions. I want the developers to speak to that. I think they're going to be doing quite a bit more marketing this summer. We don't have a release date yet, but they are targeting 2024 as of now, and they just suddenly started marketing the game after basically saying nothing about it up until this point, other than when they announced it as Dreadwolf, which they've changed the name. Couple more comments on the video. Citizen says, I played some Dragon Age Inquisition and I'm impressed. I'm hoping that the Veilguard lives up to the potential. Literally same. I played Inquisition, but again, that was a long time ago. That was before I was even a streamer. That would have probably been shortly before I started streaming if it came out in 2014. Mission-based equals no exploration. Well, yeah, and that tends to drag your playtime down a little bit, right? When they say more of an action game, I think around 15 to 20 hours. I would need the context of why they're saying that, though. Why are they saying it's more of an action game? Are they referring specifically to the combat and the structure of the gameplay, or are they referring to game length? I don't know if anybody uses action game to refer to game length. That'd be kind of weird. Lido doesn't like it. Lido leaves a comment and says, I'm just disgusted at the massive downgrade. We went from having 8 skill slots in Inquisition to having 3 here. I mean, that could feel reductive. It could. Like, if you feel as though, you've really trimmed it down and made it almost arcadish and doesn't have this depth of an RPG, right? Aw Wit says, I got gifted membership from someone a couple days ago. Whoever it was, thank you. I hit the like button, sir. Thank you to everybody who's been hitting the like button and gifted memberships as well. We missed the goal last week. This week, it's 500 again. It's a very easy one to hit. You guys have hit it before. It basically means you need to average 100 members a day, Monday through Friday, and we've averaged double that some weeks. We don't need you to average double that. Don't go too far. Don't go too crazy like you guys did the one week, all right? If you hit 500 before Friday, you make my producer Creature join me on a Friday night to play. We make him play really cute games on purpose because it ends up being very hilarious. And we will be picking that game during today's Writers Room later today. That's a members-only segment. It's a behind the scenes. So help us hit that goal. Every single gifted member gets us closer. And every 25, I give 5 back to say thank you. That's why that's down there in the corner. Zubair says, 10 years in gaming is like a million years. Being that far away from a previous game means you can't rely on the old audience, so you need to build a new audience. I think that's one of the challenges, Zubair, is that if your game has been out for a really long time, or actually a different way to say it is, if there's been a really long time between your previous game and the new game that you're trying to build, well, you can't just do the exact same thing. Number one, I think players have different preferences now. You can't just keep doing the same thing. The developers have different preferences. They've played other games. They've experienced other things. They might think certain UI elements, certain gameplay elements are more exciting. And TJ Rage gifts a member. Thank you so much. And it goes to the Elemental Hero, bumping the line by 1 and getting us a little bit closer to the goal for the week. Thank you so much. OG Omar says, 3 comments on that. It looks like the UI expands for more skills. Mass Effect 2 also streamlined and was better for it. And Mass Effects are also not open world and were lengthy games. That's true. I mean, that is true. You're definitely not dealing with an open world game in Mass Effect. It is more mission based. But the depth of those conversations and going down and talking to people, I don't know if the Veilguard gave me the impression they're going for that. This guy says the game looks like butt. Why do you think that, though? Like, you can't just say it looks bad. Like, why do you think it looks so bad? I don't get it. I think the combat. This guy says is a massive Dragon Age fan. It looks good. That's good to hear. That is from ZRPG Gamer. That's good to hear. I think that I'm interested to see how the Dragon Age fans land with it, right? I really am. I think the Dragon Age fans are the ones speaking the most about it right now. Lone Wolf says, what I want from this is great storytelling, great dialogue choices that matter, awesome companions, some good callbacks or references, and good combat. It seems like I'm getting that. I will admit, I think it's pretty cool they're going to let what you did in previous games impact this game. That was in another interview, right? What you've done in the previous games, Dragon Age The Veilguard, previous choices, I think was in the title. Previous choices will be imported. Okay, so they detail how it's going to happen, all right? Good news, you'll be able to recreate your Inquisitor. Here's how. You will be able to carry over your decisions from previous Dragon Age games. It'll work a little bit differently this time. Joker Quinn gifts a member. Gets us a little bit closer to that first 25 of the day. Thank you so much, Joker Quinn. And this is from IGN. IGN reporting on this here. And in an interview, they say, and okay, that's getting really old. Dude, my capture card, they keep doing this. There are websites now that try to protect themselves. I know we stopped going to comicbook.com for that reason, but there are websites now that basically make it to where you can't capture. And that makes sense for like a site like Netflix or something, right? They don't want you to be able to record or stream. That is getting so old. I'm constantly dealing with that. It's like, here, let me show you this article. Oh, my capture card's been disabled because because some stupid website thinks that they should be protecting themselves. All right. This is sounding worse for me. Less skills, mission-based, no confirmation on open areas for exploring. Does not sound like a direct sequel to Dragon Age Inquisition, but it is. Well, the thing about it is, I'll just read the article to you, because if you guys are curious how to bring your characters in an interview with IGN, Dragon Age The Veilguard game director Corinne Bush, she says the ability to import your choices is fully integrated into the character creator this time around. What's more, you'll be able to customize your Inquisitor if you want to remake. So if you want to make them look different. What's not lost on us is it's been 10 years since existing players has played. They might not remember what they did in the previous games. They might need that refresher, and we don't want new players to feel like they're missing out on those decisions. So in the character creator, I like to call it Last Time on Dragon Age, but you can go into your past adventure and it actually goes, like through tarot cards. It tells you what the context was and what decision you want to make. So it sounds to me like they're giving even a new player the opportunity to experience that. When pressed further about this, if previous characters will be woven into the Veilguard, Bush says, I won't say everybody, but yes, some of them. Okay, so some previous characters are, they are going to be making an appearance. So for longtime fans, I mean, they are trying to give you an inroad into, like, hey, you can bring your character. Hey, you can bring those choices with you. Would you play the older games just to see the older fan base? Where they're coming from? No. I don't see a point in playing a game that old. I know I'm not going to like it. I can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, I just know my preferences. Going back and playing ancient games has always been, this is just my perspective, it's just a complete and utter waste of time. People are going crazy over backwards compatibility, and I'm always just like, I don't care, you know. I like going back and watching old TV shows. My wife and I are now enormous Twilight Zone fans. We're like getting books on Rod Serling. We're watching some of his debut material. He had a debut thing called The Time Element, and Desi Arnaz actually introduced it, and he was one of the people that kind of helped it happen. And so I like old television because I feel like there's a quality there. But like, I can't imagine going back and playing a 10-year-old game and being able to extrapolate anything from it. I mean, I can watch gameplay on YouTube and be like, okay, I get why people like certain elements, but I don't need to boot it up and experience it. Especially a game like that, it's going to take forever to get anywhere. It's like the time commitment that it would take from me to play Dragon Age Inquisition, for example, and like get to a place where I could analyze story, combat mechanics, build, all those RPG elements. It's like, buddy, I don't have time to play the games I want to play, let alone play a 10-year-old game, just to be like, well, I wonder what people found appealing back here. That's just my own personality. I look at the new game, and I see influences from that era. I do. Like, pausing the gameplay, telling your characters what you want to do, I see that as an influence from the previous game. I also see other influences. I see a more approachable arcade style, a more action-oriented style, and I do think that that's something we're seeing more of. I remember whenever we were playing through New World, the MMO, I said, it's not going to surprise me at all if you start to see a more action-oriented style of combat come into these games. I think the tab targeting in MMOs is kind of going by the wayside a little bit. I also think turn-based has its place. Like, I think turn-based will always be around because I think people really like it. But I think in a game like this, where you're going to put somebody into a three-dimensional space, you might feel that your preferences for like older styles are perhaps going away, right? And I get why people don't like that. I totally do. Like, I understand why somebody would say, well, I've made all these decisions in my build, I have all these abilities, I have weaknesses and strengths. I get wanting to be able to, like, moment to moment determine what happens in a way that's not, well, I want to swing, block, parry, dodge, but more about, okay, I want to attack this guy with this ability, I want to buff this character with this, then I want to do this to this enemy, I want to stun him, put him to sleep, whatever the case may be. I think that people do. I think that people do like that because it feels more tactical. Instead of like on the fly being like, oh, I messed that up or I made a mistake. They feel like they can be more tactical. Why'd you pop off for Perfect Dark and Turok at the Nintendo Direct if you find old games a waste of time? Is it just because of nostalgia? Genuine question, not to be antagonistic. Well, I think there's a difference between being excited about seeing something that you remember fondly, like Perfect Dark and Turok, but that doesn't mean I'm going to go back and play Turok. Does that make sense? Like, Saturday morning cartoons. I'll see a clip or an animated GIF of, like, the Animaniacs or, the Uncanny X-Men, and I'm like, oh, that was so awesome. And that's it. that's where I leave it. I'm not going to go and binge watch the Animaniacs. I'm not going to go binge watch, Tiny Toon Adventures. You might do that. I'm just describing my own experience. So when I saw Turok and Perfect Dark, like that's like my high school. I didn't go to prom. I went to my friend's house. He went to prom with the girl that I liked at the time, and I played Turok all night on his Nintendo 64. So for me, it's like, oh, what a great memory. And then that's kind of where I leave it. I struggle with this because I remember recently, here's a good example. Here's a more relatable example. GoldenEye. They brought it to the Xbox, and it was really exciting. I turned it on, the music, do, bip, 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 and you get in the game, you're like, oh, this is awesome. And for a while, my daughter was playing it, and she liked it. And I played it for an afternoon. I played some deathmatch, I believe, with my nephews, and I never went back. It was like, okay, that was fun, little trip down memory lane, and, that was the end of it. Take my girl, I'll take your Nintendo 64. Well, she wasn't my girl. It was just, at the time, that was the girl that I had a crush on, and she asked him to go. I was like, well, I'm not going to prom now. And I was just like, can I come over to your house and just play Turok all night? Because he had a Nintendo 64 with way more games than me. And, I obviously had to share a Nintendo 64 with siblings. So I was like, all right, let's go. That's what I did. I didn't go to any dances. I was that guy. I was like, no, I'm not going to go to a dance. Why would I go to a dance? Can we see a high school pick? No. RPGs are in a very good and strong place right now as a genre. Plenty of variety and great games coming from everyone. Yeah, and I do wonder sometimes. I talked about that a little bit in the video. I wonder sometimes, were older games technologically limited, so they had to do certain things, right? They had to do certain things. And then people become fond of those things, and the developers are sitting there thinking, we didn't really have a choice. That wasn't like a creative decision. It was like, well, yeah, this was the best way to do it, And as developers get more freedom, they might start saying, well, we don't really want to do that anymore. Maybe a developer didn't choose turn-based combat as like a creative choice. They did turn-based combat because it was the easiest and most efficient way to do it. Does that make sense? Like, I think a lot of like MMOs, some of the older style combat that's more slow, more thoughtful with the tab targeting, some of that literally could have been because of technological limitations of, client to server resolutions and how fast they could calculate damage output of an enemy and a person, your ping and everything else. So it's like there could have literally been technological limitations that led to all of those things that you find charming about an old game. And the developers are like, we don't have to do that anymore, so we're not going to. You might like it, but we don't want to do that anymore. There's also developers that they're playing a new game and they're playing new genres or new types, and they're like, oh, I really think we could do something like this. They'll start importing things. I mean, for goodness sakes, even Elden Ring really abandoned a lot of the tenets of what FromSoft games were known for, which was the incredibly painful run back. That's like non-existent in Elden Ring, to the point that if you play Elden Ring a lot and then you go to an older FromSoft game, you're like, oh my gosh, I died at that boss and I now have to run, I have a 5-minute run ahead of me. Literally, get out a stopwatch and time it. It's going to take you a while to get back, and you're going to run past 18 different enemies just to get there. So, even a game like that, they've changed. So I think in a game like Dragon Age, if they're making those fundamental changes to their game, it could literally be because they've played other games. They're like, I think that we should do this, or I think we should remove or change this thing. What's good, Brooklyn Breed? Old games were reviewed based on the time they released. We've had so many advances since then that the old games feel clunky outside of nostalgia. I remember playing in the Rare Collection. I remember playing Perfect Dark with my older brother. He was in town, and we did a stream of that, and we played through it. And I remember being like, they don't tell you anything. Old games, they tell you nothing. They're like, nah, you're just going to wander around. You're not going to have a clue what it is you need to do or what it is you need to find. And we're not even going to tell you. We're not going to tell you where the key is. We're not going to tell you where the door is, right? Behemoth is calling on you guys to press like, please. He is spamming the chat. He's saying, press like, please. He's wanting to see 200 likes on the video. Let's see it, guys. Give Behemoth what he wants. He kicked off the day today gifting 10 members. I believe he has a right to make some demands of chat. Demon Souls is awesome for that. Beat the stage and the boss at the end, or don't. Find shortcuts or you're going to have a bad time. Right, I think there's an element in some games, Eugene, where it's like a whole package. But I also think sometimes a developer is like, we don't want to do this anymore. Like Captain Black said, says Zubair, I love my Civic hatchback from college with the 4-speed manual and no AC. I couldn't go back to driving that after having a modern car. Things change. Listen. We all want X-Men 2 Clone Wars remake. What? Modern combat with Origins level of story and character writing would have me major hyped. This is giving me Overwatch Saints reboot vibes. Yeah, I don't understand why everybody likes the color purple all of a sudden. I feel like every game coming out, I'm like, man, you guys really decided that purple was the color to go with, huh? It's like, all of a sudden, everybody loves that color. I'm not really sure. Is Stonespire busy today? I'm not sure. And 5 members comes in from Therapy Quantified. That is an agent of chaos, taking us to 27. That's past the 25. That's the first 5 that I owe you. You guys are now 1/4 of the way there. 1/4. And Behemoth with the 5-bomb. We got a 5-bomb member train starting right now, taking us to 32. Thank you so much. And another 5-bomb from MASH. Hop on the member train, boys. Throw in your 5-bomb now. Join MASH, Behemoth, and Therapy Quantified as we get closer and closer to the next milestone. Every 25, I get 5. And if you guys get 500 on the week, you'll make my producer play a cute game on Friday night, and he hates that. You only need 100 a day. Behemoth says, you're waiting for me. Yeah, MASH is totally waiting to tag team with you, Behemoth. Where's Barrier? Not sure. He could be here. But yeah, a lot of purple these days in the marketing. Not sure what that's about. I mean, I don't care. It's just interesting. You know, Wayfinder used it a lot. Even the Starfield Shattered Space is using it a lot. This game, Veilguard, and then you've got, I feel like Kill the Justice League use a lot of purple. Now they're using all the green for the Joker, but yeah. Not that game is going to be around for very long. I think the Veilguard may be missing is not being dark, gritty, and more time on getting the characters designed, more detail, story, and immersion. They could delay the game and listen to the old. Yeah, okay, so Elemental Hero, the art style definitely has like a Saturday morning cartoon vibe. I'll admit that. It has like a Saturday morning cartoon vibe. No doubt. But I think the question is, does that take away from the story? And I think where I land on it is, I don't think it takes away from the story. I think what it does is it immediately puts people off. It's not like if you had never played one of these games ever before, I don't think that you would care. But I think because in the past, there was far more of a grounded, almost, as I said, almost like Lord of the Rings vibe. I think that creates an element of, like you're saying, almost like gritty. It creates a more serious and somber tone. And I think when you don't have that, a lot of people think and just assume, well, this is going to be a corny game. You know? this is going to be some cornball game and it's not going to be serious and there's going to be like plucky humor. And we saw that response to Concord, right? Like that cinematic dropped and people were like, what the frick is this? You know, more Guardians of the Galaxy, you know? And my take is that I just want more gameplay. I thought the tone was fine. I thought the tone of the various scenes was fine. I didn't feel like it was like too cheesy or too goofy. I think my only like creative decision feedback was that I forget her name. She looks like what's her face from Shrek. She looks like Fiona. I think that's the only creative decision I disagree with. Like she does not sound. There we go. Let's get the shirt on screen. She just doesn't sound like she looks. She looks like she'd be gruff and kind of tough and have like an accent. And she feels like she has like a very thin, you know, almost not shrill, but a very thin voice. Like there's not much to her voice. It doesn't seem to match the character's appearance. I notice a pattern where games go orange, legendary purple, epic blue, rare green, uncommon. Any idea why that became the standard? I believe that all started with Diablo, and then we saw it replicated in Borderlands, and then replicated in Destiny, and then The Division, and then Anthem, and it's like that now everybody just uses that color scheme. I don't think the color scheme is that rigid. But yeah, Sven says Into the AM has another clearance sale up to 80% off and code Lono stacks. There you go. Use the shirt command in chat or the link below in the description, intotheam.com/Lono. Be sure to use code Lono at checkout. You can stack it on top of the 80%. I do not get a kickback per code use. I don't. They'll send shirts and I will do one specific integration that I am then paid for. So you guys just get to benefit from that code all of the time. And it obviously makes me look good. Like they want to keep working with me, but like I'm not getting a kickback for every time you guys use the code. It started outside of video games, says Eugene. So levels of gear being that color coded, that specific color code of like white, green, blue, purple, gold, where did that start? Tabletop? I heard about a build in Veilguard that is basically a Captain America build where you throw the shield, it ricochets, then as it's coming back, you can hit it and send it back out again for big damage. See, I talked about that in the upload. I said, listen, I don't just need to see gameplay in the mid game and the end game. I need to see different play styles. Like run the same fight, run the same boss fight, but do it from different play styles. Let me sort of see like, oh, okay, you know, this is how you might play if you're more aggressive. This is how you might play if you're more, you know, if you're more mage, you're going more mage, right? Something like that. Great comment from somebody named Virginia. All right, hang on. Somebody's giving Virginia props here. Virginia Murr says, the writing in Origins is very good. Also, light and hilarious most of the time. I see much of the same in the Veilguard. The lead writer has been there a long time. Tone and tenor will be similar. Well, thank you, Virginia Murr. Somebody in our members-only Discord gave you a bit of a shout-out. They said that you had made a good comment. I appreciate that. I think that is a good comment. I like hearing that level of input from people who clearly have a longer history with the game than I do, because I can't keep up to date on every game and play every game, especially when my history as a gamer is so lopsided. It was like all I played was, you know, Quake, Unreal Tournament, and Call of Duty, and then all I played was Call of Duty, and then all I played was Destiny. Like, I really did the mistake of falling into the pit of like the one game gamer, and I missed out on a ton of great experiences. You know, you miss out. This is why it's always good to take a break from a game, okay? If you guys are like really heavy, hardcore into a live service game or something, it's always good to take a break. Because I feel like now I get so many more experiences, get to play so many other games, and I wouldn't be doing that if I was still locked to one game. I think the game looks fun. I'll definitely play it, says Raphael. I had a blast with Inquisition back in the day, and Origins is one of my all-time favorite games. Throwing out one-liners or silly banter whilst Bloodthirsty Demon is charging at you, LOL. Right, but I think it works if you do it right. You know, I think it works if you do it right. I don't think... Did we have a blip or something? There's no way we jumped by like that many viewers that fast. What is going on? I'm going to gift the 5 members that I owe you guys. If you guys had a bit of a blip or you had to refresh, I apologize. Oh yeah, we dropped frames. That's weird. I'm not having any internet trouble, but yeah, we definitely dropped some frames, and that'll cause the viewership to look funky. I'm going to gift the members that I owe. It's gallows humor. Right, like is that... I don't find that type of humor to be off-putting. Like, I don't find that type of humor to be off-putting. To me, I think it can work. I think it works in the beginning of, like, the Guardians movies. I think it works in video games, right? Like, you don't always have to have this... How do I want to say it? Do we... I don't think we need every single game to be saying... We got to take ourselves very seriously here. And there's a single gifted from Lone Wolf bumping the members to 38. Guys, do me a favor. YouTube's acting really squirrely right now. Make sure you smash that like button. Let's get to 200 likes. That definitely can help us out. YouTube will see viewership fluctuation that just happened, and you can get kind of punished for it. And I don't have any control over it. Like, if we drop frames, we drop frames. It just happens every now and again. It's like cancer jokes some sickos make. Shut up, Zubair. And another gifted from Lone Wolf. Guys, I know what Lone Wolf's doing. He's bringing the spear to Stone Spire. He's going to slow walk this to 40 members. Somebody get a 10 bomb ready. Tag team this and slam it home with our boy Lone Wolf. There it is. He sets it up. It's dangling before you. 40 out of 50 members. Thank you so much, sir, for doing that. We dropped frames. What happened? Did Reforge get bought by Xbox? Oh, stop. Come on. We've been streaming for... how long have we been streaming for? We've been streaming for 46 minutes without a single problem. Let's not start any of those fights. Ragnarok has its own sense of humor in a great way. Yeah, I think there are times in Ragnarok that it's funny. I think there's room for that type of humor. Yeah. And a 10 bomb from MASH. He says, I'll pick it up and I'll slam it home. Thank you so much, MASH. Let's come back over here and take the count to 50. Thank you. You guys are crushing it already. You're halfway to basically the daily goal. The daily goal is 100. If you guys want to get 500 by Friday, you got to hit 100 each day. You'll make our boy Creature play a really, really frustrating game. And what in the world are you doing there? What are you doing, Hilly? What is that Photoshop supposed to be? Stone Spire channeled me. Oh, Lone Wolf, was that you were the original? You were the original bumper of the line? Well, let me gift the 5 that I now owe you guys. Thank you guys so much. And while those likes are hitting, take a second and thank MASH or anybody else who's gifting members today. It gets you into a bunch of extra content. We do a daily behind the scenes show. We have a members only Discord. Those are all things you get access to when you are a member. Dragon Age Origins had a much darker tone despite gallows humor. Also had meaningful choices the newer Dragon Age games lack. Reforge Gaming is not working or listed as being supported on one of my video platforms. They must have been bought by Xbox. There you go, Monty. Oh, those are shelves? Yeah. I'm holding off on stuff like that. Colors came from Angband, which was an old rogue, but it was a game, so I was wrong, but it wasn't Diablo. So there's a game that predates Diablo. I doubt I was the first one, but for the long while I used to do it, but I had to chill with that. Hey, no worries, man. Somebody picked up the mantle for you, Lone Wolf. Appreciate you, dude. It's not out yet. How do you know? Shelly, I think they're speaking in general that, like, Dragon Age abandoned that style. Like, I think they're speaking generally. I don't think they're saying Dragon Age The Veilguard abandoned it. I think they're saying Dragon Age generally abandoned what they did in Origins. I've seen that echoed by a lot of Dragon Age Origins fans. They're just like, it just isn't... They have not done a game like that in a long time. You know... Don't you find that ironic that Dragon Age switched the combat system now though when another game coming out soon very much looks like Dragon Age combat system. Which game are you referring to, Ghost? What's good, James Williams? How are you? Diablo popularized it along with World of Warcraft. It's trying to appeal to more people. I can't fault a game developer for saying we need to appeal to more people. Like, I can't fault a game dev for saying, dude, it's been 10 years. Like, we need to appeal to a broader audience. What's the funniest game I played? You say Portal 2? I actually don't know if I've ever played a game and I'm like, that's really funny. Please check my comment on the upload. Good morning. Thank you for the 2-spot, David Farias. That is 10 super chats from you. David Farias says, I think people are forgetting why this hurts so bad. This franchise was based on Baldur's Gate. The OG BioWare team made the old Baldur's Gate games, so Origins was Baldur's Gate 3. So with every new iteration, it changed its identity, similar to Parasite Eve. And seeing this so different from what it was is what's bothersome. I just hope it lands for the franchise's sake. It seems like they always made big changes, though. Like, it doesn't seem to me like this is something that should have been unexpected. To me, it seemed like they always made big changes. You know, I don't think, in my read of it and in the interview they did with Game Informer and even the way the community talks about the games, I don't feel like they've ever stuck to one style or format. They've always iterated and evolved things. A game for everyone is a game for no one. Arrowhead developers, who ironically made a game that appealed to quite a lot of people. Well, they ended up making a game that appealed to quite a lot of people by not trying to make a game for everyone. I think that comment, too, a game made for everyone is a game for no one, was about PvP, was it not? I could be incorrect on this, but in my estimation, that happens all the time. A game like that comes out, everyone's like, I can't believe it doesn't have PvP, the game needs PvP, you know, PvP is the only thing that'll keep a game like this alive, and the devs are like, no, we don't need to do that. We don't need to make our game try to appeal to PvP players. You know, it would actually be bad for the game. If Baldur's Gate 4 went action RPG, I can see how I would be disappointed, but I've also gotten used to things I love changing and not being for me anymore, and now I'm sad. Chained Together wasn't fun for Lono. I think I could see Lono's passion for all things gaming leave his body on the 58th pipe jump. Yeah, I had fun because I was with you, Hilly. You know? Helldivers 2 is actually a pretty comedic game. That's a good choice for my earlier question. Yeah, I can't think of a game where, like, I laughed out loud a bunch. I mean, I laughed maybe a handful of times in, like, a Borderlands. I laughed maybe a handful of times in... I feel like I laughed a couple of times when I played God of War. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever played a game and thought, well, that was hilarious. That was a real knee slapper. You know what I'm saying? Like, not that I talk like that anyway. But, like, I don't typically play a game... and walk away, or I've never played a game and walked away and thought, well, that game was hilarious. Now, I've laughed a lot playing with other people and goofing off with other people, but definitely have never played a game and thought, well, that was one of the funniest games. Yeah, High on Life made me laugh a lot. That's a good choice. I laughed quite a bit at that one. You know, what's his name? Knifey? They didn't say they were making a game for everyone. They're trying to appeal to more people. Making a game something everyone and appealing to more people are two different things. I agree with that, Nightfire. I don't think it's an equivalency to say, oh, they're making a game for more people. That means they're making a game for everyone. Chained Together was really funny. I appreciate it. I don't think you remember laughs. You'd have to think deeply. Like, Tilu has some funny stuff in it. Pun book or Helldiver satire. Yeah. Was his name Stabby or Knife? Was it Stabby? I don't remember. I didn't get to finish that one. Stabby or Knifey? Yeah, I think it's Stabby. Comedy isn't really a genre in video games. It isn't, and I'll be honest with you, I don't want it necessarily to be so noticeable. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is quite funny. Yeah, there were definitely some times, though, I was playing that game, and really felt like it was overindulgent. It was like, okay, we get it. You guys are trying to be funny. Like, oh, okay. You know, like, I don't know. I'm not necessarily playing a game to laugh. You know, I don't know if I've ever played a game and like, well, this game better make me laugh. Like if you watch someone stand-up comedy or a movie, you know, I actually think when I laugh in movies is when they're not trying as hard to make me laugh. A bunch of comedy would hurt replay. Yeah, definitely. I don't think you want to replay a game and hear the same punchlines over and over. Devs had said that the depth of the character stories and the choices was a huge focus in this game. It's part of the reason they made it more linear with some open explorative areas. Right, and I was going to talk about that, Virginia. Like I think more and more games and even more and more gamers just in general, I think gamers should be okay with a game being, how do I want to say this? Like, it doesn't need to fit some mold, you know? Like, it doesn't need to fit some mold of like, yeah, this game is like this, and this game is like that, and it's got to be open world, and it's got to have this, and it's got to have that. And it's like, no, I think it's okay to sort of jettison away from that and be like, no, we're going to go back to the basics of like, just like linear set pieces, focus more on the storytelling. Because the reason I kept coming back to Final Fantasy 16 was for the characters and the story. I really, really liked it. The combat was a huge plus. Now, exploration, not so much. Walking around town, not so much. Performance made that unenjoyable, but also the game really wasn't built for that. You know, you check a couple corners, you check a couple, you know, trails and find some stuff, and that was about it. So I don't necessarily want every game to be this big, giant, open world experience. Sometimes I'm just like, no, let me go to the next thing. Let me go to the next thing. Okay, thank you. Like, you know, I'm a man of simple tastes, you know? If you give me a linear experience and I can just sort of go to the next thing, go to the next thing, go to the next thing, as long as those things I'm experiencing are really enjoyable, man, I'm all for it. It's one of the reasons I prefer Sekiro over other FromSoft games. It feels more linear. It feels more straightforward. You know, and again, that's a preference thing. Not everybody is the same way. Some people are like, no, I want a game to basically always be like either Elden Ring or Breath of the Wild. Just this huge, open, expansive experience. If it's going to be an RPG, like that's what they want. And I think sometimes the RPG, the story, the choices, and the environments and the engagements would likely feel better if they spent more time handcrafting content as opposed to just doing almost like a generic... I don't know how to explain it. I'll give an example. When I played Assassin's Creed Origins, I remember being sort of struck by how much I did enjoy the story. But in general, you know, when you play a game like that, the story is going to get a little bit of, I don't want to say dilution, but it is going to be affected by the fact that, like, you're always going to a town, you're always going to a new area of the map, and doing a lot of samey missions, doing a lot of samey activities. And I think when that happens, the story is affected negatively by that. It's like when you're watching a TV show and they do a filler episode, and you know it's a filler episode, they know it's a filler episode, everybody knows it's a filler episode. It's like, okay, either the cast was striking or somebody was out of town or sick, so you guys had to create like a padded episode that like nothing happens, right? Now, if a show does that too often, you're going to start to say, well, the plot's not really moving forward, you're doing a lot of padding. You're doing a lot of nothing. You're doing a lot of, you know, I guess padding's the best word. So it would start to hurt the storytelling. So I feel like sometimes when you're in a giant open world and you're repeating certain activities, it can start to feel like a lot of padding and a lot of filler. And when that happens, what you end up with is the story sort of almost gets diminished by that, just purely by proxy. It's like you're in the game doing like non-impactful stuff or stuff that's not that important. there's filler in all games. I don't know if there's filler in all games. I think some games literally just give you very much a straightforward experience, like point A to point B. I do think there's filler in a lot of open world games, right? It's the same argument we had about Ghost of Tsushima. I'm not sure I remember what we were saying. What do you mean? There's definitely some stuff in Tsushima that feels like unnecessarily drawn out. You know, where I'm like looking at a rice grain on the ground and I'm like, oh, they must have went this way. It's like, you don't need to do that. Just give me footprints, I'll follow them. Fetch quest in an open world. Right. Well, and that's the beauty, is like, everybody complains about this, right? Everybody complains about, you know, filler this and fetch quest that. But then these guys come out and they're like, no, it's not an open world game. It's going to be more linear. And then people get upset about that too. And it's like, well, all of those tropes, all of those frustrating things that you don't like in games, you can't have. Well, I mean, I guess you still could have that. That's true. But it's less likely to show up in a more linear game. What's good, Kingslayer? Tsushima had a ton of repetitive BS. I don't know if I would say it had a ton. It had a good amount. It was completely avoidable if you didn't want to do it, though. If you didn't want to do side quests, if you didn't want to follow the fox, if you didn't want to, you know, what are some of the... Oh, yeah, the detective quests where, like, suddenly Jin Sakai, you know... Jin Sakai is suddenly Batman. You know, he's suddenly Samurai Batman, like analyzing, you know, granules of rice to determine where the enemy's going to, you know, went. Doom has tweeted and said parry. Wait, so you can parry with that shield? Let's see it. Let's see this. Oh, okay. I see you out here, Doom. I see you out here. I'm with it. I'm with it. Want to see more. Want to see more. Speaking of which, guys, take a quick second. YouTube's being super weird again, and I'm asking for likes, and we're not seeing it. So make sure it's saving that for you. I know you guys are super great about that. You're very faithful. You watch a vid, you hit the like. You watch a vid, you hit the like, and we're not seeing that sometimes. And we had a blip earlier, so just make sure it didn't like clear out your likes. A bunch of you guys watched that upload this morning and left a bunch of comments. Thank you for doing that. Power Up's in chat right now. Power Up left a comment on the upload and said the setting, atmosphere, and characters are severely lacking. It's reminding me of the Saints Row reboot. Flashy gameplay and pretty graphics won't save it. I don't see that level of problem here. I don't. Dude, I watched one trailer for that Saints Row thing, and I was like, dude, no. Absolutely not. Avowed confirmed by Obsidian to be very short for an RPG. Yes, we will be talking about that today in the second show with Kirk. I got my wires crossed. I was thinking they said something like that about Dragon Age Veilguard. Avowed has been confirmed to be more within the realm of like an Outer Worlds in scope, and it's not going to be like a super long RPG. Doom Guy's going to be rolling before too long. Cyberpunk Darren commented on the video and says, don't be fooled by that article. They are just doing damage control to elicit pre-orders. It didn't feel that way to me. I did not get the impression that they were like doing damage control. It felt like they were genuinely talking about the game. You know, Wukong doesn't need parry. He's too nimble. Yeah, Wukong's all about the dodge. That's true. If you guys have seen the gameplay breakdowns of that, there is no parry in that game other than like deflecting range. Now, somebody left a comment on one of my Wukong videos and says, no, there actually is parry. And I was like, what? They're like, you just really have to time it well. And I'm like, so everybody that went to the capture event's wrong? Like, everybody's saying there isn't one. Lono, how do you feel about games having an in-game time limit? I get it for linear games, but for open world games, I find it a little weird, especially if you're going to 100% completionist. What do you mean time limit? Do you mean like a mission that's like run here in 45 seconds? I'm not sure what you mean. So far, there could be parries in some of the other forms of transformations. No, they only played for the first few hours. Well, but that wouldn't be your base combat. I think that was the point people were saying. The base level combat is not based on parries or blocks. It's based on dodges. If you can transform into somebody else and get parries, I guess my concern would be it's really limited. You know, you're only in that form for very long. Like, I don't want to have to master parries if I'm only, if I've got like a 15-second window to play as that character. I think that's kind of tough. Unless the parry window is really forgiving, because they're like, you don't have time to master it because you're not in that form all the time. Virginia Murr with a $10 super chat tip says, appreciate the measured, rational assessment. Thank you. Well, Virginia, I appreciate your contribution to chat. This is what we try to do here. I try to talk about a lot of different games, a lot of different topics, and I am safe for work, so Monday through Friday, a lot of people throw me on in the background like a podcast. So guys, make sure you have hit subscribe. Subscribing to the channel is totally free. It enables you to talk in chat, and then if you turn on alerts, I'll be in your news feed all week. I'll be on your homepage. If I'm ever not on your homepage, always make sure and check that subscriber tab. Sometimes it'll put me somewhere else because maybe you're not following a particular game. YouTube will predetermine your interest in something. So don't let YouTube determine what you watch. If you like the show every day, regardless of the topic, make sure you're checking that sub tab. And if you get a gifted membership, get into our members only Discord. We've already had 50 gifted members today. I gifted then 10. And we're trying to get about 100 members a day before Friday so you can make my producer play a cutesy game on Friday night. The last couple times we've done it has been hilarious. We made him play Foam Stars. We made him play Fall Guys. And we will be choosing that game this afternoon in the writer's room. That is a segment that's behind the scenes for members only. Did Leonidas spell out what he meant? Oh, timers in Destiny are the worst. The inner Wilhelm is the agent of chaos. We sat on 50 out of 50 for a while, and he pushes the line forward and says, well, let's go for 75, boys. Thank you so much, the inner Wilhelm, for gifting a member. Shelly says, the Reforge community has a great vibe. You're very fortunate. I watch a lot of the other, and my God, the toxicity in gaming is wild. It's sad it's gotten like this, tunnel vision everywhere. Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos recently about gaming, and there is this sort of presumed negative narrative. They're like, you know what we're talking about, guys. You know what I'm saying. All these games are coming out, and all these games are doing this, and all these games are doing that. And then they always fail to list the games. It's like, all these games, huh? You know, the gaming industry is in a shambles, and the gaming industry is headed for a crash. And then you see all the reports, and you're like, what are you talking about? Like... everything is bad. Everything is terrible. It's like the opposite of the Lego song, you know? Everything is awesome. It's like so many YouTube channels are basically like, everything is terrible. And it's like, okay. Hopefully you're wrong, because if that's true, you're not going to have a career for very long. Hellfire left a comment on the video. My boss said, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So I went in as... Batman. Not sure what that has to do with the video, but thank you. And this guy's A Day Expired left a comment and said, hasn't changed my mind. I played most of Origins, finished Inquisition several times. It's still a maybe buy. It's 5 years later. If it goes to $20 and only then gets good reviews, graphics bother me. Writing seems horrible for an RPG. Combat looks similar to Andromeda combat, and I hated Andromeda. This guy wrote a book. I appreciate the lengthy feedback. I'm not going to read all of that. I'm sorry that happened to you or whatever, but I'm not going to read all that. This is a very lengthy comment. A Day Expired. If you're in the live discussion, I'd love to hear from you more. I don't want to read your entire book here. I appreciate you taking the time to write it, though. It doesn't make for a good show for me to just sit here and read it verbatim. I got the gist of some of your earlier, the beginning of your comment, though. At 19 minutes, I heard the best line. It's funny if it works. Inner Wilhelm gifted a membership, but isn't a member? How did you do that? I didn't even think that was possible. How did you... Are you a magician? How did you gift a member, but you aren't a member? I'm not going to read all that. I'm happy for you or sorry that happened. That's it. That's the line. That's the meme. Sorry. I messed it up. I don't know how an algorithm solves for sensationalism and negativity, drama, toxicity, outrage, gets clicks, etc. So not sure you can solve for that. I mean, the approach that we take is basically we're farming. So we're like scraping off of the top, and we're saying, okay, we're going to always grab a smaller batch of people and a smaller batch of new subscribers every day, and eventually that builds up to be something that's very, very strong. We're not a particularly large channel, so the turnouts that we get on live streams, even today, I would say this is a low performing live stream for us, but it's still significantly higher than a lot of the channels on the platform. And I think that's because we're farming for, almost like you're building a brick wall, right? You're building this foundation of people that are just like, I like gaming, I like sensible conversations about gaming, and so then you increase the likelihood of those persons coming back, because they're like, well, I'm not necessarily interested in Dragon Age The Veilguard, but I know the conversation's going to be pleasant. I know that the people are going to be pleasant. And yeah, you guys are the cream. You're the cream of the crop. You're at the top. Oh, there's all the rubble and the rabble at the bottom that'll clamor around anything, right? Whether it's, the mindlessness of hate, salt, or just the bombast of negativity. And I certainly am very negative. I get very critical. A lot of my videos are critical and they're negative, but they're thoughtful. They're not just, me spewing nonsense. If Esoteric can beat Dual Destiny by playing on 2 accounts, then you can do it with another human. What? I like Lono's content. He lets me cook him in peace. A good lad. We will never forget Suicide Squad. Never. The content wouldn't be good if I was right all of the time. It would get obnoxious, right? Like if I was some kind of a mental time traveler and I was able to predict everything, I'm going to have some misses, and that I think is good. I don't know if I'd be able to watch somebody that was right all of the time. It's hard enough when someone's right, about one thing, because they'll really let you know it. Cough, cough, pyramid scheme. They're going to really let you know it. Lono doesn't know what Dual Destiny is. It's an exotic mission that requires another person. Esoteric beat it by playing both accounts himself. Because why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? Everybody that's irritated and having a hard time now is both interested in his video and probably hates him for it, Those guys that play games at that level, I tell you, we might end up discussing this tomorrow. I don't want to cannibalize a video. I don't want to cannibalize a discussion. I think my opinion on this is fleshing out the more I see reactions and the more I see content. So you guys may be able to look forward to this. But I find it so funny that you can express an opinion like, this game is too hard for me to have fun, and all people hear is the first part. They're like, oh, it's too hard, baby. Like, get good, and all the other lovely language that they spew at you. And it's like, I feel like I'm admitting that I'm not good enough to enjoy it. And they can't take it. They're like, no. We want to be able to insult you, so we're going to pretend that you said something that wasn't measured and balanced, and we're going to yell at you anyways. And it's just like, okay. I'm not good enough to enjoy this. This is too hard for me to enjoy. And people are like, you're a baby. Like, oh, get good. I don't want to. I don't care. Melrose Mike with 41 months in a VIP. Here's the best gaming community on YouTube. Thank you so much, Melrose Mike. Yeah. I saw Kai shouting out Rad Brad. Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. Wouldn't shock me if something comes out later that this... No. Don't even put that out there. Lono chat is potent, though. You really talk to a diverse bunch of folk. You actually live stream. Like, you don't talk while you're live. You actually interact and bounce off chat. So many falter at this. It's difficult, I think, to do the live chat interaction. It is. I think it's difficult. A lot of times I feel like I'm spinning 4 different plates, 4 different conversations. Hang on. Takumi got his thing. The Nightbot hit ya. I don't have the kind of time to invest in a new character. If I find that my character build is not viable, all builds should be viable, period. Yeah, we'll probably end up debating that tomorrow. I feel like that one's kind of bubbling to the surface, and I obviously have my own opinions. And my opinions are, they're my own. And you can watch me play that game day one. It's pretty calm and pretty tame, and I wouldn't call beating a boss and setting the game down a rage quit. Like, well, took me 6 tries to beat that boss. It's time to put the game down. Look at this guy rage quitting. Like, what? Only the final boss is truly hard. That reviewer that complained about the final boss was not wrong. The only FromSoft game. Yeah, see, I think there's enough to talk about here. I think we might be able to do a show on that tomorrow. So get yourself ready. All right. I want your diatribes. I want your rants. I want your mini monologues. Get them ready for tomorrow. We'll probably be talking about that because that continues to be a hot topic. And I obviously have my own opinions on, difficulty, game design, why Sekiro is king. Like, I think that'll be a good discussion. We'll shop that in Writer's Room. That's an opportunity for you as a member. That's a motivation for you to become a member. You can come to Writer's Room. That's an opportunity to help me kind of think through all the things I might want to address in my monologue. Kevin, just nothing to add to the convo. Don't care about this game. What did Kevin say? Did Kevin say something to you specifically, or were you trying to at somebody else? Speaking of, where's Eugene? Oh no, yeah, Eugene is here. Yeah. Ramp up the elitism, boys. Tomorrow's gonna be spicy. That's right. Were you talking about the Elden Ring DLC just now? I'm stuck on a boss for 8 hours. Rolana, remember that name? Oh, I've seen the clips. Yes. I already hate that person. I already hate her. To her, right? Rolana? Yeah. Already hate her. Already hate her. Although I watched a clip of a guy who had her on the ropes, and then he drank a flask. And I was like, what? Like, as he did it, I was like, no! And then, yep, it all went upside down on him. And I'm like, why did you do that? All you had to do was do a couple more attacks. Have you considered adding some more episodes or topics you're wrong on then? You're getting close to being right too often? I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Your live podcasts really get me through the day, says Citizen while working. You have my respect for the content you create and really enjoy your thoughts, opinions, and perspectives. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you so much, Citizen JV. Guys, if you're enjoying the show, take a second and smash the like button. We already got 220 likes. We might be able to get 300 likes. There's almost 400 of you here. We've already gifted a bunch of members, 51. You're going to need to average 100 a day if you want to make my producer hang out on Friday night, so keep that going. But all you really need to do every day is listen, lurk, subscribe, and like. Those are all free things to do. Doesn't cost you anything, and you might get a gifted membership. I'm actually curious about difficulty in Dragon Age The Veilguard, because like the one boss fight, it didn't look hard, but it also looked not that enjoyable. It looked like it was kind of spammy. And that's why I want to see, like, okay, can you use the multiple characters to stun, to smack, to subdue, to chain, to whatever, to help with a lot of that. We've reached a nice comment quota already. Madam pays us to keep him humble. Yeah, you guys are being too kind. You're almost there. You're almost there, Sven. You're almost to 3 years of membership. In summary, people are ticked that it's been 10 years since the last Dragon Age game and they change combat with every game. In my humble opinion, it looks great. Fan since Dragon Age Origins. Yeah, this is what I've been curious about. And that's why I tried to bring... Ooh, I had to stretch there in the middle of my comment. I felt like I tried to mention that in passing in the video, but it does feel like Dragon Age Origins fans and Dragon Age Inquisition fans, that's where the split largely lies. It's like if you're an Origins fan, you're looking at this game and you're like, what in the heck is that? If you're an Inquisition fan, it doesn't mean you automatically like it, but I think the Inquisition fans are more likely to say, oh, that looks like a good evolution, that looks fun. The fact that Virginia's saying, you know, she's a fan of since Dragon Age Origins, to me is interesting, but it probably means that you also enjoyed Inquisition. Like, it feels like there's a split in the community on those two games in particular. Instead of Rolana, I prefer Pontiff Sullivan Part 2, the Frick You Boogaloo. Yeah, he just starts spinning. Dragon Age will be a great game, but I don't think it'll be a hit because of gamer hate. Might be the end of BioWare, sadly. Do you guys think that that's possible? I called it the other day. I called it the preemptive death sentence. It's like, do you think a YouTube trailer's performance actually has the ability to represent a new partner? Okay. How many times are they going to do this? Goodness gracious. We're getting another YouTube partner manager? Why do they shuffle them so much? Anyways. Sorry, I was like, what happened? Like, we just started interacting with this guy and he seemed great. Anyways. Do you think that a YouTube video has the ability to do that? Like, I'm looking at the videos. I'm like, oh my gosh. The dislike ratio is it's terrible. And it's like, I mean, we saw what happened with Kill the Justice League. Now, Kill the Justice League could have come out and surprised everybody. It didn't. I was pulling for it. I thought that it could, and it didn't. I was wrong. I thought, no, I think this game is going to be good. I think they're going to nail it. They seem too passionate. It seems like a game they really wanted to build. And it just wasn't. It was not very good. And this game in particular feels like it's headed towards the exact same fate. It's like it's just written off, declared as awful before it even hits the ground. And it's like, well, we're not going to say that's why Kill the Justice League failed, right? Like, Kill the Justice League failed by its own merits. And the YouTube videos were just a representation of what people were, you know, basically seeing. People were seeing the game accurately. I failed to see it accurately. I was like, I think it looks like it could be fun. And I think it was fun for, 15 hours. And then after that, it's like, nope, it's not fun anymore. Right? So, for me, I think that this game's in a similar spot, but I think I'm more confident that this game could come out and prove people wrong. I don't know if I'm ready to say that yet. I think I need to see more gameplay. I need to see, like, okay, what's it look like when you're controlling the various characters? What's it look like when you're fighting a really hard boss fight? What's it look like when you're in the end game and, all of the enemies are more challenging? Inquisition was one of the first games I played on the PS4. I didn't like it. I dropped it after 10 hours. It seemed like an MMO to me, kind of boring. Virginia says, for what it's worth, the very popular Baldur's Gate 3 was absolutely hammered in the comments on their trailer before the game came out. Got to scroll back years to see it, but it's there. Do you think that, Virginia, do you think, though, that was something that they took into account? Like, did they receive that feedback and make adjustments? You're saying, you got to scroll back years to see it. We don't really have an opportunity for the developers here to internalize any of that feedback. Do you feel like at all Baldur's Gate 3, like Larian internalized the feedback and made adjustments? At 19 minutes, it's funny if it works is something I agree with. Let a game come out and give it a one playthrough and then decide if it's good or bad. Reckless Gambit says, in the past, a bad trailer could kill a film in the theaters. I think the same could be true for a game. Lots of casual gamers are not tuned in like those of us watching a variety of gaming live streams. Andromeda and Anthem weren't amazing, but they weren't terrible games that gamers want to make you believe that they are. Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to compare either game, but I do think that both. Well, no, Anthem and Andromeda suffered from different problems. I was thinking of Anthem and Kill the Justice League being similar in that they created a fun content loop and they never went beyond that. It was like jumping around, slamming the ground, zipping around. You don't even know what game I'm describing yet, do you? Jumping around, zipping around, slamming the ground, you know, that could be either game. Both Anthem and Kill the Justice League had like a fun little content loop. I think Anthem's was significantly better with the combos and the various builds you could come up with. But it was like they didn't go beyond that. It was like, well, yeah, that's the premise. And it's like, that can't be the premise. That's the vehicle to the premise. Like, what am I doing? What am I working on? You can make a really, really fun game where you're showering the landscape with lightning bolts and swinging a big axe and feeling awesome. But if that's the entire premise of the game, is like, no, you just do that over and over again. It's like, okay, what's the point? You have to have a compelling ongoing format. If you don't have a compelling ongoing format, then I feel like I'm just running in a circle. I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. There's no upward trajectory or momentum or aspirational content. There doesn't seem to be a strong enough motivator to do all these things. Virginia says the negative Baldur's Gate 3 comments came at the same time that the trailer was released, which was years ago. Since the release, comments have been flooded with positive. Look at the pre-release dated comments. And you're saying that was just based on a cinematic trailer? This is an interesting comment. I want to see if you guys agree with this or not. RPG stands for role-playing game, not strategy game. There is nothing like an RPG should be tactical and strategic and not action real-time. You guys agree with that? I feel like a lot of people's commentary on RPGs is exactly that. They want there to be they want the game to have a presence of thoughtfulness and strategy and being tactical about the game. I don't think RPG and strategy are antithetical to each other. I feel like they're bedfellows. If you're playing an RPG, there's going to be strategy. There's a strategy to your build that goes into the weapon that you use, that goes into how you attack or don't attack the enemy. The subreddit for Dragon Age is kind of hyped about the game. Veilguard will do good. The showcase was just bad. RPGs equals choices. Yeah, which is attached to strategy at certain levels, is it not? This person continues. If we get to properly roleplay, then that is an RPG. People should understand that there are many subgenres and none is better than the others. Take the Veilguard as it is and trying to be, and not by what you think it should be based on a game from 15 years ago or another one from a different brand and company from last year. Trying to discredit or hate the game without it even being out yet is just not fair. You can dislike it, but do keep in mind it is an individual opinion, not a fact for everyone. Only tactical RPGs have strategy? How tactical are we talking? Okay, tactical is probably not the best word, but it was just the one that came to mind. So let's just think through what strategy means. If I have a character and I have spec'd into damage type A and B, and I have another character in my group and they do damage C while healing D, right? Pause, healing D. I'm going to strategize when I enter a fight, and I'm going to say, this enemy's more susceptible to C. That's going to make me vulnerable, so then I'm also going to have this person healing me. Like, that's what strategy is. You're just thinking through the flow of the combat in a way that's intentional. And I think there are people that prefer turn-based games over moment-to-moment action games for that reason alone. They want to be able to get a lay of the land and be like, okay, what's in front of me? What enemies? What are they weak to? What am I weak to? What do I have in my arsenal? What do I have, in my party, my group? Right? So to me, it's like that's you doing strategy. You're not mindlessly going in and just pressing buttons. And I feel like people that prefer turn-based or a more slow tactical approach to combat, they prefer that for that reason. They feel like if it's just moment to moment, I'm just sort of mashing buttons. I'm just trying to parry and block and dodge in conjunction with what the enemy's doing, and then I'm just trying to lay waste to them. Turn-based games allow for more options and choices because you have time to think. That may be described as strategic. Right, I don't think RPG games are like devoid or they just don't have strategy in them at all. I don't think that that's true. If you play some of the oldest turn-based RPGs like a Final Fantasy or even the way that you do combat, turn-based combat like a Pokemon, there's a lot of strategy involved there. Veilguard still has the staple of Dragon Age games. It lets you pause, strategize attacks with your companions, and continue the fight. If that's not strategizing, I don't know what is. Right, like, I just, let me see here. I don't think RPG games are antithetical to strategy. Turn-based RPGs are full of strategy. I'm not saying it's like an RTS. It's not like, it's a real-time strategy game. But, like, if you're able to pause the game and be like, hey, Susan, do a fire attack. And then, hey, Larry, do a binding attack. And then I'm going to do DPS or something. That's literally strategy. Like, you're strategizing the best way to optimize the present fight or the present enemy or boss or whatever it is that you're working through. I've always been under the impression that people that prefer turn-based over action-style combat, that's one of the reasons why. One of the reasons why is because they're like, I want to be able to make decisions. I want to be thoughtful about what in the world's going on instead of just feeling like I'm having to constantly react or respond to what an enemy's given attack patterns are. Turn-based is so much better. I've never been able to get into turn-based games, but the turn-based game that I really did enjoy the most consistently was Child of Light. I really, really liked Child of Light. I think some of it was because of the aesthetic. Some of it was because it was more of an involved style. I really liked Super Mario Brothers RPG as well. But I think what ends up happening is I don't have the tolerance for it. I've tried XCOM and I just don't like it, Zuby. Yeah, the dev said that pausing and layering combos with companions is core to the combat system. That's what pulled me in. Because I was like, okay, if I can interlace moment to moment, dodges, parries, range attacks, I'm swinging my sword, I'm casting a spell. If I can interlace that with, hey, companion A do this, companion B do this, and I'm going to time everything with you, that feels really satisfying. I think I enjoy that. I enjoy feeling as if we're almost synergizing on the fly because it is moment to moment, but it's not because you can pause. Like, I feel like that's a good blend. That's a good middle ground, that it's not strictly turn-based, but it's also not completely absent of having an actual strategy and a plan. The game isn't paused during combat, it's slowed. Right, but your choices are pretty basic, Liquid, so I don't think it matters. Like, I don't think you need to, fully pause the game. Right, we don't want to misrepresent it. But yeah, you basically are choosing between, 3 attacks for one companion, 3 attacks for the other, and then your own. I just wonder can you literally just stack and go crazy? Can you be boom, 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 and then everybody does theirs, and you go, do it again, boom, 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 do it again. And, you're basically just putting everything on a cooldown, and the enemy's just, freaking standing there getting obliterated. I actually think that could be pretty satisfying. That could be pretty fun, personally. to just kind of string everything together. I hate the button mashing argument. I could mash my way through Final Fantasy 16, but it's more fun to learn the mechanics and do the amazing combos. I saw a commentary on Twitter this morning. It was Porter Rock was like asking, what are things in games that you don't like or something like that. And Doc Dark responded and said, not every game needs a skill tree. If I'm a superhero, just let me start with all of my abilities. And I immediately thought of all the problems with that. I thought, well, hang on a minute. If I started Spider-Man 2 with all of the abilities, all the skill trees, everything, all the gadgets, I think you would get bored very quickly because all of the fights would have to be sort of static. You would either absolutely obliterate every enemy that you encounter in the early stages because now you're way stronger than you're intended to be. And if you don't want that experience, well, then that means all of the enemies now have to be equipped to deal with you at full power. And because of that, from beginning to end, every fight's going to feel very, very similar. And instead, to me, and, you know, Doc's welcome to think this. Everybody has different opinions. From my perspective, one of the beauties of a game having you level up and adding different things that you can do is you're getting a greater sense of strength. You're getting a larger tool set, a larger ability set, and then you're able to engage with multiple, stronger, harder, more challenging encounters. So the game almost like opens up as you play it, as opposed to just being like this static thing of like, here's a superhero, you can do everything from beginning to end. And it's like, I feel like I don't know. Me personally, I feel like I would get bored really, really quickly. Like 5 hours in, I'm like, nothing's changing. I'm just doing the same attacks I was doing 5 hours ago. This is why I walked away from Diablo 4. When Diablo 4 came out and they went with that more linear structure of the skill tree, it was like, well, now that I'm level, like, I don't know, I was level 17 to 20 or something like that. And it's like, once you get to that point, that's largely how you're going to engage in combat the rest of the time. And I was like, nothing's changing. I thought the Diablo 3 ability system and rune system was so much better because you were constantly changing and trying out new things. Instead of like, nope, this is it. This is your attacks. These are the things you're going to be doing for the next 75 hours. And it's like, I'm good. I'm good. Assuming he was talking about Dragon Age The Veilguard, Liquid Smoke is wrong about the pausing. The pause menu does actually pause the game. It doesn't just slow time down. Have they indicated that specifically somewhere, Lone Wolf? Can you find that for me? That when you go to tell people what to do in your party, that the game itself pauses? And a 10 bomb comes in from Sneaky Wolf. The member count slowed there for a bit, but it's back and kicking. 61 out of 75. Thank you so much, Sneaky Wolf. You guys are going for 100 members a day this week to hit the average. If you want to hit 500 at the end of the week, and you're well on your way at 61 already, and the day is still young. Thank you so much, Sneaky Wolf. If you guys just got a gifted membership from Sneaky, be sure to say thank you. I thought it would be fun to do watch parties of Star Wars Acolyte, because my wife and I haven't watched it yet, because I know what awaits me. It's just nothing but pain and sadness. But we'll do that if we can hit 700 members paying for their own membership, which means about 80 of you need to upgrade and pick up your own membership. If we can get that count to go up, we'll do some watch parties of stuff like that. And Stone Spire's going to come in and set up a 10-bomb dunker. I know what he's doing. He's already gifted 2. He's taken us to 63. He's going to slow walk this to 65, man. If somebody wants to help this man out, he's looking for the 10-bomb dunker to 75. I'll owe you guys 5 more members. There it is. There's the 64. He's going to do 1 more. I'm just going to preemptively credit it for him. Let's see if anybody takes the bait and dunks home the 10-bomb to say thank you to Stone Spire. Today I'm pausing SMTV and starting the Elden Ring DLC. I'll let you know if it's as hard as everyone claims. If you hit the options button, it takes you to the pause menu. If you hit X, it takes you to the command menu, which is slowed down and the enemies are still preparing to attack. Yeah, I think there's a difference. I think Liquid's right. I think Liquid Smoke is right. I don't think you just flat out pause the game when you're... I don't think you just flat out pause the game when you're at in the choices or whatever. Game Informer article titled "A Deep Dive into Dragon Age." Okay, talks more about the tactical pause. Yeah, I used that article in my video, but I didn't use the entire thing. Let's see what they say here. Thanks to an optional tactical pause and play combat wheel that harkens back to the series' origins, I feel like I found a great battleground here. Okay. With this mechanic, players can pause a combo status with a dash to safely continue the combo. Okay, that's not it. This extends to companions who, at your choosing, bring 3 abilities of their 5 total into combat, executed either with quick select buttons or the pause and play combat wheel. Every time you rank up a companion's relationship level, you lock a skill point to spend specifically on that companion. This is how you unlock combat abilities. It looks like they're calling it pause and play, homie. That's what the pause and play combat wheel is for in Veilguard. In this screen, which pauses the camera and pulls up a flashy combat wheel that highlights you and your companion's skills, you can choose abilities, queue them up, and strategize. Oh, strategize! How dare you say strategy? With synergies and combos the game recognizes. Liquid, I think you're incorrect. Oh, he's talking about Final Fantasy. Okay, we're passing in the night. Sorry about that. And a 5 bomb from King Slayer. He says, I'll get us halfway there. Somebody else pick up the other 5 to 75. Thank you so much, King Slayer. Sorry, Liquid Smoke was talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. In this game, in Dragon Age, you 100% pause. Yes, you do. Okay. That is in that Game Informer article that I referenced in my video. That isn't turn-based. I don't think anybody said it was turn-based. When I was saying turn-based, I was basically pitting turn-based against action. Action combat is moment to moment. Every swing of my sword, I'm doing. I'm going up, swing, swing, swing. Every dodge, I'm doing. Every parry, every block, I'm doing. Every bow, every ranged bow shot, I'm doing. I'm pitting that against turn-based. Turn-based would be, there's the enemies, everybody stop moving. All right, who do you want to attack? And I'm like, I want to do range attack on that guy. You go, and then the enemy goes, and like little numbers pop up. And I was simply saying there are people that look at a game like this going more toward the action style, and they're saying, I don't like that. And Siege Master answers the call and gets us to 75. Thank you so much. I owe you guys 5 more members. And you're now very, very close to what you need to start the week. If you want to make my man Creature play a cutesy, annoying game on Friday night. And Siege Masters only hit 4 people. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I'm going to do the 5 that I owe you. Let's see if we can't jumpstart this. Let's see if we can't jumpstart this here. There you go. There's the 5 that I owe. We'll see if we can't undo the glitch. The freaking chat is glitch. It looks like Siege Master just did 15 members. And I know that's not right. It's totally glitching out on the 5 that he did. We're at 75. I don't know what YouTube's doing. Yo, it's good, Donnie. I won't take any turn-based slander. I'm not slandering turn-based. I was explaining why people like turn-based. Don't you think bird's eye view based games are mid? What? Are you asking me or telling me I think that? I don't think I've ever said that. And what do you mean by bird's eye view? Do you mean top down? Do you mean isometric? What are you referring to? Real time is better when you want to focus on a single hero. Turn based is far better for party based RPGs. Well, in Dragon Age The Veilguard feels like a middle ground. A 1,000 subs and Lono and Creature have to talk to each other in Fall Guys voices only. Listen, if you guys double the goal is only 500. If you guys double the goal and you hit 1,000 members by the end of this week, 1,000 new members by the end of this week, yeah, we will do that. Creature will be like, I'm unwell. I can't stream tonight. Tire blew out on the way to work, says Sneaky Wolf. Got new tires and gifted some members. Days turning around. Love supporting the channel. Hey, man. Sorry that happened. Top-down camera games? Oh, you're asking me, Machiavelli. I don't think top-down camera games are mid. I need the gameplay to be good. I played through Diablo 2 I don't know how many times. I played through Diablo 3 numerous times. I made seasonal characters with my wife. I enjoyed playing Hades 2 recently. I enjoyed Curse of the Dead Gods. Yeah, I enjoyed The Ascent. I enjoy twin stick shooters. Yeah. I don't have an issue. I enjoyed Hyper Light Drifter. That's a top-down game. Beat that one. The Legend of Zelda Link to the Past is one of my favorite games from that era of time. That's top-down. No, you don't switch to control the party members, Grant. You simply tell them what to do. You're like, all right, I'm going to attack this guy with ice. I need you to, hit him with electricity or binding or whatever the frick. And then you tell the person on your right, hey, also go ahead and do some fire. Let's double up the fire attacks on this guy. He's made of wood or whatever the frick. You're basically just telling them, hey, they have 5 total abilities. You equip 3 in the little wheel. And then you tell them, hey, do this one. You do this one. All right, here, I'm doing mine. Yeah, I wish I could have spent more time in The Ascent. My wife just can't do twin stick shooters. Like, it messes with her head. She liked playing as the Demon Hunter in Diablo 3. But the Demon Hunter in Diablo 3, she could hold a button and just turn her character with the same joystick. So she's moving with this joystick, right? And then she holds a button down, and then that same joystick, she just rotates and spins to wherever she wants to shoot. So if you could change the controls in a game like The Ascent, she'd be down. But I didn't even look into it. Once I realized she just wasn't going to be able to vibe with the twin stick shooting, we just put it down. Did you go further in Shadow of the Erd Tree? I did not. Asmongold is tempting me to come back, but I did not. I might talk about that tomorrow. That might be tomorrow's show. Known gap in Soviet training. The Soviet Union couldn't afford 2 sticks. There you go. Bastion, Hades 2, Wicked West, top down are far from mid. Yeah, I don't think that at all. I don't dismiss games based on that. I mean, there are games I certainly just won't ever even try because I'm just like, I just don't like, turn-based, From Fridays Are Back. I don't know about that. You killed the beast solo. That was impressive. I had a summon with me. It took me 6 or 7 tries, but I did have I had my boy TJ with me, okay? I can't do the type of games I want to be able to change the camera angle. Yeah, so Machiavelli, that's more of a preference than like a declaration. Like, you're saying, I prefer to be able to change the camera angle. You're not, like, declaring top-down games as mid. Does that make sense? Like, to express your preference in a better way, you would just say, yeah, I don't like games like that. I can't get into it. That's not you saying that they're mid or they're bad. TJ took a beating. My favorite line from the fight was, even TJ is confused. That was one of my favorite moments because I was like, I don't know what the frick's going on. I feel like I'm fighting a tornado. And then somebody's like, even TJ's confused. I thought that was funny. I had fun in that fight. I think I laughed at it more than I got frustrated. I thought the fight was absurd. I was like, I can't even see what he's doing. And then I said, I'm fighting a tornado. And then he literally turned into a tornado at one point. I was like, I told you. Oh, man. TJ's getting wrecked in this DLC. Cannot even use it at all. Mimic's been my soldier. Oh, you had to switch to Mimic. I don't know if I have Mimic. If I have Mimic, I don't know how leveled up it is. Well, I guess you don't need to level it up in the DLC. You just need to get the thing to level it up, right? Whatever the currency is. Raiden 3 Bullet Hell games are some of my favorites. Oh, I've never liked bullet hell games, but Returnal is one of my all-time favorite games. Just awesome. Far Cry 7 was the game I was talking about, rumored to have a 72-hour time limit to beat. I don't know how I feel about it. Wait. So you're telling me there's rumors about a game that you're going to have 72 hours to beat what, and then what, the world ends and they roll credits? Expedition 33 looks to have interesting comment. Yeah, Expedition 33 really got Kirk's attention. He's going to be on the show here in about 20 minutes. We're going to be talking about Avowed and asking the question, should they delay Avowed? I think they should. We're going to argue that in the show. I'm actually coming from a positive stance that will never get represented by the people that dislike everything I say about Xbox. But I'm coming from a positive stance of like, this game's continuing to look better. Let's just delay it. I'm curious where Kirk's going to come from. His perspective's a little bit different than mine. So that's going to be the show in about 20 minutes. And he thinks that Expedition game looks amazing. And I was like, oh, this game looks awesome. And then I saw turn-based and I was like, I'm good. But I could be won over if it's sort of that middle ground like we're seeing from Dragon Age The Veilguard. Far Cry 7's rumored time limit is a gold mine for immersion. Okay, there's a rumor that is going to be actual, like, there's like an imminent destruction or something? Could you at least scum save? I don't know about that. I guess I wouldn't be too concerned. I wouldn't be too concerned. Because I could probably, I mean, I guess it depends, but goodness gracious, if I can't beat the game within 72 hours, I hope that I could beat it in 30 to 40. It looks like a good blend of turn-based and real-time actions. It does, Paul. It does look pretty cool. I'm willing to give it a shot. I just can't do the, oh no, an enemy. And then all of a sudden, everybody's standing still, locked in position. It's like, dun, 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 dun. And you're like, okay, meow, 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 meow. Attack. You're like, beeping your way through the menu. It's like, I'm good, dude. I can't do it. My daughter is loving Pokemon. My wife had a box of her belongings from like her room when she was in high school. Her parents gave it to her. And in there was a Game Boy Color and a Game Boy Color Advance, or a Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Color, it's a purple one, I believe. Just like the one I had. I had one just like it. And it has Pokemon Blue in it, I think. My daughter is loving that. I'm like, it just shows you that, like, good games and good game design, they don't need graphics, Like, my son has remarked on how much he thinks the original Lego Star Wars game is the better game, Like, the newer and the shinier doesn't really land on my kids because they played so many different game types. Like, they just don't care. Like, if the game is good, they don't care what it looks like. Graphics have come a long way. They no longer stand still in turn-based game. They bounce in place. That's right. That's right. They kind of bounce back and forth. That's correct. Oh man. Complete Saga is easily the best Lego Star Wars game. My pushback is that he didn't give the Skywalker Saga enough time. We beat like the first trilogy, got halfway through the second, and he bailed. And it's like, well, that's your own fault. Like, you keep wanting to, buffet style your gameplay. You're always hopping to a different game. Now we've been playing Hypercharged Unboxed, and they're really liking that. We're getting better. We're strategizing. I wish it was a little bit easier to find batteries in that game. I think that's one of my main pieces of feedback to the devs, is it's like you unlock really cool turrets and defenses, and they're worthless without a battery at the individual locations that you're defending. And it's like, I'm scrambling every time to find a single battery. And it's like, we have 4 spots that we're supposed to defend. So we've had, we failed to get like platinums and golds and like good, good medals because we end up losing some of the locations. And it's like, yeah, because you won't give me any batteries. Like, I need something, that's a piece of feedback I'm giving to the devs. Like, if you're wanting to make it more challenging and you're wanting to create this environment of like really engaging tower defense, then you got to quit hobbling me. It's like, you give me these amazing turrets and those turrets are just sitting there dead because we can't find any batteries. I think the spawn rate of batteries is the only major criticism I have. I think everything else works really well. The guns feel good, the defenses, the upgrades, it all feels really, really good. But it's like there's a very, very pivotal moment in the game where you're getting attacked from multiple angles, you're having to defend multiple locations, and you have locations that are just dead in the water because you can't find enough batteries. Like, if you have 4 locations and you find 1 battery, like, that feels like something's wrong. That doesn't feel, it feels like every time there should be enough batteries spawning for you to, power up your locations. My kids are having a blast and so am I, but now we're going to start going back and trying to get better scores. And that's going to be one of the main pain points, is how the heck are you supposed to defend these things if, you can't get one of the most basic elements of the game to consistently spawn. So in about 15 minutes, we're going to be going to a show about Avowed with Kirk. If you guys haven't done so yet, smash the like button. Y'all are the best. Nice turnout today. We can. I bet you we could get 300 likes on the video before our time is up. You can't control the whole party. Yes, you can. You tell them what to do. People are taking it so rigidly. You can control the whole party. You tell them what to do. That's controlling them. Like, I don't have to be like literally walking around with them to control them. I can quite literally tell them what to do. Like, I never said you could become the character. I think people are taking the word control a little too literally there. It's like, you are controlling them. You're telling them what to do. With only 3 active skills, my guess is they took the inspiration from Mass Effect Andromeda as it got praised for the combat. I personally feel like it was a massive design flaw with the combat. This is Chaos Hunter leaving a comment here. Yes, there are different profiles you could switch to, but it was still a massive limitation for no reason. I'm personally not a fan of the direction where the combat is going. So when looking at the damage output of the companions, it appears to be very minimal, with just 5 to 6 attacks doing the same amount of damage as one of the player's attacks. So it makes you wonder just how much impact companions are really going to have on combat. Secondly, the enemies do not attack the squishier characters, which, if not, it's going to be like Inquisition, where you can give the armor from a yell ability. Aside from healing, we have no idea if there's support. I definitely want to see more combat for all the reasons you stated. I definitely want to see more combat for all the reasons stated, because to me, it's like, yeah, how's this all going to work? What level of complexity can I bring to the combat if you're only giving each player, each character, 3 equipable abilities? I think that's always going to be, a little bit of a challenge. It's like, if you want to make something accessible and fun, if you go too far, you water it down, and then it just feels like diluted and like there's no substance to it. If it's too complex, then people feel like they can't engage. So like, I definitely think you want to try to find like a happy middle ground. And they, if they went too far and it kind of feels like a chintzy, almost like an arcade game and not like a thoughtful RPG, I could see people being upset by that. Because if you're going to say like, oh, it's got all this character-driven RPG elements, well, that's all well and good, but if the combat itself doesn't feel that way, then the question remains, will that part of the game feel almost dislodged. You're like, well, it's time to do combat, and if the combat feels like chintzy and arcadey and silly, and it doesn't have that substance of decision making and, you know, synergy and strategy, then you may have people feeling like, well, the combat feels extremely dislodged from the rest of the game. I'm making all these decisions and character choices and narrative choices, and then I go to do the combat, and the combat's as basic as it gets. Like, I'm not saying that that's true. I'm just saying people might come to that conclusion. You know, I like systems that are approachable and fun. Like, I loved the combat in Final Fantasy 16 for that reason. I felt like they kind of streamlined certain things. It felt like a more action-focused game than, like, RPG-focused. Like, I think people criticize it for that. They're like, it's not really an RPG. When you play games with a controller, you are simply telling the game what to do. You aren't becoming one with the game. I'm not sure what you mean. Ghost14 says random, but I watched you get really hyped for the new Doom, and I have never played them. I'm downloading 2016 based on how hyped you got for it. I'll let you know how my journey goes. Dude, Doom 2016, that's... I don't know. I don't want to get you too excited, but as somebody who grew up with Doom, I thought Doom 2016 was... it was like perfection. I thought it was so good. I liked Doom Eternal less because I felt like they did things with the combat, with the Marauders that were, I didn't feel like it flowed well. There's a huge debate about that in the community, and there are people who think the Marauders are great, and then there's people like me that are like, no, the Marauders would have been better as a boss. Fair criticism of combat, I suggest that we've only seen level 1 play, so it will look basic. Dev said they'll release more prior to launch, so odds are good they'll show higher level combat. Right, and if they can make it have a level of bombast and player impact and power, I think that'll work. I think people will like that. Telling the party what to do is controlling them. Right, like, I know that it's easy to get caught up in, you know, splitting hairs and being pedantic, but, like, I definitely don't think when I'm saying you're controlling the characters, I did not mean you're actually physically controlling them. I meant they're going to let you do. I think I even qualified in the video. I say you're going to have the ability to, like, pause and tell them what abilities to use. I don't think I painted a false picture by being like, oh yeah, you're going to be able to control the character and run around with this guy over here. It's like, no. You're controlling this guy, and then you can control these guys by telling them what to do. Looked amazing. I remember watching E3 back in the day when they showed it for the first time, and it looked so great even back then. Yeah, I think Doom has always looked really good. I was surprised that people were being sort of down on the latest Doom trailer. I didn't get where that came from. To me, it was the strongest thing. It was the strongest thing to come out of showcase season. You know, people were declaring Nintendo was the winner. I didn't think so. I thought Xbox was the clear winner, and I thought Doom was the strongest trailer. People seem really invested in classifying the combat system under rigid definitions. I mean, I think what Patrick Q is saying is helpful. You control the main character, you command the companions. I think that distinction is helpful. I didn't think I needed that level of distinction. I thought people would, you know, understand what I was saying. That you're controlling the party, you know, but you are this guy. Yo, good morning, Feed. Good to see you in the chat. Controlling isn't really the right word. It's giving them commands is a better way to explain it. Right. Patrick Q said something similar, Dave. To me, I was just wanting to convey to people that, like, your companions aren't just there off to the side. You can control what they do. I wasn't trying to be like, yeah, you can control them. You can run around as, you know, Fiona from Shrek. It was like, no, you can pull it up and you do this, I do this. Like, I think I even frame it in that way in the video. There's two different menus. The options button, like the traditional start button, takes you to the actual pause menu, but you cannot select attacks or anything. Are you guys still debating the Final Fantasy thing? I'm kind of missing your point. What do you mean that you can't choose an attack or action in the pause menu? We're talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth. It sounds to me like in the Final Fantasy games, it's a slowdown. from what Liquid Smoke has been saying, it slows the action down. It does not pause the action. I don't know why my voice is getting scratchy. It's been nothing but a heat wave here. I shouldn't have any allergies. Everything is just getting baked. I think the confusion is because in the other Dragon Age games, you can actually fully control the other party members. Oh, so you can like literally move them around and be like, well, this guy has a bow. I'm going to switch to him and shoot some bow. And this guy has a spear, and I'm going to go use a spear. Okay, I get that. I understand now why there might be some confusion. I read the articles and the interviews, and it was like, oh, I can control the party members. I can tell them what to do, you know. To me, I would verbalize that differently. If I thought you could literally play as those characters, I would have verbalized it in a way of like, you can switch to them and play as that character. Like, that's how I would have verbalized it. I wouldn't have verbalized it as you can control them. I would have been like, you can switch to that character. You can toggle over to them and play as them. Like in a game like the Lego Skywalker Saga, I wouldn't be like, no, yeah, you can control the people that are with you. It's like, no, you can switch to them. To me, that's like a different verb, but that's just because I've played different games and have different, different frameworks. Okay, let me make sure and pause, or I'm sorry, mute Chrome. Okay. Avowed. Gameplay, we want the deep dive, and we want, yeah, that's the deep dive, that's the trailer, that's the official gameplay trailer. Okay, and we don't really need to worry about the annotations down in the corner. We just need them to loop. Okay. Because Kirk will be in the way. Yeah, the developer direct. I've got the deep dive that they just did 13 days ago, the story trailer, official gameplay trailer. What's the thing they did earlier this year called? Is that a separate video? Let me just get you on the phone here. Oh, hang on a minute. You might not be able to. Yeah, you probably can't see me. Give me a second.
No worries.
Where's my USB cable for the camera? Oh, here it is. Okay.
Lone Wolf, when do I not do my homework? Come on, man. What are we doing? What are we talking about?
Okay.
I did my homework last week.
All right, hang on. I got to reset my stupid capture card.
What's going on, chat? While he gets his crap together, tell me how you doing. Yes, Lone Wolf, yes. Obviously. Man, you really think I'd just show up and wing it? No, I would not do that.
Okay, let's try this again.
What's up, Dave?
Property.
I never did beat Dracula on Brutal.
I got to figure out what new website is triggering HDCP protection on my freaking cap card.
Patrick, that is mean, and I don't appreciate that.
All right, guys, I'll be right back. You can talk to Kirk. We'll get into the Avowed show in just a minute.
Zenthos I did last Monday. Streamed on Twitch. Do you guys want me to stream Dead by Daylight on Twitch? I wouldn't have my camera on. That's the main reason I haven't done it. Is I feel like nobody's gonna stay if I have my camera off, because my camera doesn't work with Xbox. But I've been playing the Dead by Daylight anniversary event. I've actually been playing a lot of Killer, which is very fun. And I think the event is skewed towards Killer. Like, it makes being a killer easier for the time that the event is active, because you get like abilities and modifiers and stuff. But yeah, I even with that, I feel like I'm better than I thought I was. Like, I thought I was pretty bad. So it's been fun doing that and actually like being decent. Whenever I'm like decent at an online competitive multiplayer game, I feel good, because usually I'm not. Usually I'm just terrible. What happened? We're below 400. Lono must have scared everybody off with his horrible Dragon Age takes. So Kirk, why does Elden Ring require an easy mode? Well, it doesn't. And those that disagree are stupid. See, the way that you've phrased that, Mash, I don't know what disagreeing would be. If you want an easy mode or don't want one. I really did enjoy V Rising. It surprised me, Patrick. Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite games that has come out this year. But that being said, I haven't gotten around to really playing Persona 3 Reload and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and I feel like those are going to be amazing. Citizen 4, my favorite Obsidian game is South Park: The Stick of Truth. Hot take. Hail, Raven Storm, Lord of Stormfall. I think everyone is too invested in Elden Ring. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think it is. I think it is Elden Ring season for sure. Mash, you talking about my Stick of Truth? Lono, they asked me what my favorite Obsidian game was, and I said South Park: Stick of Truth.
What? Okay.
It's good. I don't know. Sue me. Into what boat, X? Oh yeah, no interest in Dragon Age or Avowed. Today kind of double whammy of uninterest. And yet you're still here, X. What a guy. Thank you, Drummond. Everything I've seen about Infinite Wealth is that it's fantastic. I pre-ordered it. I was so ready to get into it. I had just played through the first Like a Dragon with Ichiban again, second time, and was so ready to get into it. And then I did the Suicide Squad review, and then I got like 5 codes. Thank you to all those publishers who gave me codes. I got codes for a bunch of Kepler interactive games and a bunch of other stuff. Banishers. We ended up doing the Banishers review on this channel, and I just didn't have time to play it, and I haven't found like a window of time for me to really sit down and enjoy Infinite Wealth the way that I want to. That's also why I'm not playing Elden Ring. A little different from Lono. I actually really enjoy those type of games. In fact, I think we had different outlooks on Stellar Blade and Ronin just because I like the type of game that Koei Tecmo and From Software make. Just fundamentally, pretty much any of From Software's games I like, except Armored Core wasn't really for me, but that's a tangent. So I'm just waiting to like have the time. Like I don't want to rush. It feels like people who are rushing, like all the streamers, they're trying to beat the game in like a marathon stream or whatever. They're having a terrible time with difficulty, and it definitely seems like they more than ever are trying to give everybody a kick in the ass to like go out, explore the world, turn every stone over, go in every cave, look for everything, and like you will be rewarded. So that's definitely how I want to play the game, and that's like another 80-hour experience probably, and I don't think I'm done with the main game either. So yeah, I need a bunch of time to set aside to play that game and really enjoy it.
Okay, I got my tweets sent.
Yeah, I'll retweet it. Not that it's gonna do much, but
hey, everybody, I can't talk. Every bit helps.
Everybody, bit. Well said. I couldn't have said it better myself. I sent Donnie. There's Donnie. I sent Donnie from Pure Dead. Which you guys can go check that podcast out that Lono was on. After this evening if you want to. I sent him a DM of I think it's Still Wakes the Deep that just came out and it's on Game Pass. And pretty much everybody in it has like a thick Scottish accent. Although Donnie says it's not from the part of Scotland that he's in, not from his regional dialect. But there's this girl playing it, and I can't remember what she says, but she's like, I'm no freaking going down there, is what she says. And then, like 2 seconds out, because it's a horror game. So she's like, I'm no going down there. And then, like 2 seconds later, the actual protagonist is like, I'm not going down there. And she's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like the best clip ever.
That sounds thrilling.
Not your type of game, maybe. Narrative and horror. Oh, you did. How do you like Madison? I didn't catch that member stream.
The main Madison game my wife and I have played before. Madison VR is completely different. It's like a puzzle game, and it was glitchy. Like certain things didn't work. Like the first room, I found this thing that you're supposed to grab under the couch, and it wouldn't let me grab it. I went back, and they're like, "Oh, the light has to be hitting it." I tried to grab the thing like 8 times, and it would not let me grab it. I was
like puzzly.
Yeah. And so things were glitching, and like I had a camera later for one room that wasn't working right either. It didn't seem like a very polished experience, so we didn't have a good VR experience with it. VR games and grabbing stuff can get really wonky sometimes if it's not properly detecting like the orientation of your hands. I'm not sure what was happening, but it was not a great experience. We usually really enjoy horror games. We did the Switchback VR game where you're kind of like on rails, like an old school on rail shooter from the arcade.
That's like a spiritual sequel to the Russia Blood game, right? From
I don't
Supermassive.
I don't know about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was a game called Until Dawn Russia Blood that was like you were on a roller coaster and you would like shoot stuff on the side, and it was like a horror themed game. So I thought that was maybe just like that, but I'm not sure. Who makes that?
All right, guys, I'm gonna put a link in chat. Do me a favor, smash the like button on this stream before we leave. We only need 24 more likes to 300. And do me a favor, help out with likes in the next stream. We can kind of jumpstart the next stream because the Avowed I think is probably a hotter topic, and we'll see how this one goes. Should they delay the game? And we're trying to actually I'm trying to come from a positive place here because I'm seeing marked improvement. So that's going to be the tone of this next stream. So bring your thoughts, bring your ideas. We'll try to interact with you guys as much as you can, and make sure when we get over to the new stream, you hit like as much as you can. It'll help it jumpstart it. Thanks so much for checking out this video where every week on Monday, I try to sit down with my man Kirk from What's New Video Games. You can click his name below in the description. And this week, I wanted to talk about Avowed, and this is meant to be a positive view of the game. I've seen marked improvements. Some of the things I've been frustrated by are seemingly being answered by the developers, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe give them more time, because I continue to think the game looks a little rough and not quite ready yet, but I do think they've got great ideas, and they do seem to be listening to feedback. So I'm going to end the previous stream that was about Dragon Age The Veilguard, why I want to see more gameplay. I am feeling like my mind has been changed about that. We're going to end that stream and redirect everybody over. Kurt, thanks for being here this week. Again,